And at some point, Nicolas Cage was going to play the villain, Chudnovsky, and then he left, and Academy Award winner Christoph Waltz comes in. And so the film comes out. I think every one of us at this table have seen it.
Yes.
I know for a fact you have seen it.
Yes, multiple times.
So let's talk about the Green Hornet. And just for you guys who are listening or watching this, there might be some minor spoilers. We'll try to avoid major stuff. But Sol, your thoughts on Green Hornet. What do you think?
Well, full disclosure, I've been working on an aspect of the marketing of this movie for about 6 months. So I had, in a previous, and tie into this and saw it a little early on, or was lucky enough to see a screening of it early on. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was the type of movie where you go into it and you're like, okay, it's a superhero, but he's not really a superhero. It's kind of like Hancocky or Batman in that he doesn't have any superpowers himself, but the dynamic between him and Jay Chow, I even thought, in Gondry's directing was really dead on. I really enjoyed myself. I had a lot of fun, and both audiences that I saw it with were laughing at all the right times. And that's what you said in one of your earlier reviews is if it does the thing that it's trying to do right, or if it makes you laugh, if it makes you have a good time, then you're going to
Yeah, my thing is, I have this thing about comedies and horror movies that if you're making a horror movie, you can do almost everything wrong if you scare the audience. If you scare the audience and give them good chills, whatever, a lot will be forgiven. And the same is with comedies. If it's a comedy, you can get almost everything else wrong if you make the audience laugh. At the same time, if you do almost everything right and fail to make the audience laugh, it's a bomb. But anyway, Roth, you saw the film. What did you think?
Johnny was reading from the press notes from his company, by the way.
I would also like to say that I really
enjoyed the direction by well-known prominent director Michel Gondry. You may know him from such films. You know what? When I originally heard this combination, that Michel Gondry, who I absolutely adore, was going to direct Seth Rogen and Cameron Diaz, I was like, it's basically like putting a Philly cheesesteak, cotton candy, and some mescaline on a plate and being like, dinner! I was like, what does this look like?
Combination sounds terrible.
Amazing. It sounds amazing. So, but I think the action was extremely cool. Michel Gondry has an incredible visual style, but I almost had like the male reaction, where I checked out during the plot points and I checked back in during the action. And these guys are really funny guys. Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen are really funny guys, and they're really funny writers. And I think that I had higher expectations for the comedy than what was really there. But I did love Jay Chow. I thought Seth Rogen was more appealing in this movie than he has been in a lot of movies. And overall, I thought it was fun, but not the best action movie I've maybe seen this year.
Dennis?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining. When I first heard about Seth Rogen being in it and Michel Gondry directing, I thought that was a very odd combination. But I think once I saw the first trailer, I think I was sold. I was like, okay, this is kind of the tone that they wanted to go for. And they delivered on that. My only complaint would be that I saw too many of the jokes in the trailers.
Right.
So when I saw the movie, some of the stuff didn't make me laugh as much as it should have, like the whole thing with the red light,
Yeah.
The gas gun.
Yeah, and stuff like that. So, but I thought they had a great chemistry, Seth Rogen and Jay Chow. Seth Rogen, he's being Seth Rogen. He's not really. If you like him, you'll like this movie. If you already don't like him, nothing's going to change your mind.
Yeah, I think that was one of the criticisms that I heard, or I think I read on Slash Film or something, was that you take somebody like Seth Rogen, and he plays really well off of other people. That's part of his comedy, is he can riff and play off of another character. But you put him against somebody who English isn't their first language, and you get this sort of odd disconnect. But on the other hand, that disconnect sort of plays for this movie because it's about a hero and a sidekick that don't get along, that there is a rift, that there's not really a solid bond or connection there. So.
Yeah, but it sort of worked, but sort of didn't. It was like, and then bop, 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 bop. Jay Chow is great and Seth Rogen is a great improver, but once in a while it felt a little awkward. But yeah, it did.
But he's the mechanic and he's like the playboy. You can't expect them to be like, BFFs and have this immediate lifelong bond. Like when this isn't a spoiler, but in the very beginning when he makes him his coffee and he sips the coffee from Kato and he's like, Kato, tell me your tale. Like, that's how disconnected he is, like, from that person. So it's okay that they didn't have that bond.
I think something's got to be mentioned here too about the performance of Jay Chow. It's because I was talking to Cameron Diaz about this, and my review's up online. And she said in it, the thing about Jay is that a lot of people realize he learned English in about 4 days. And I think for a guy who, and when we did the press junket for it, he's one of the guys who wasn't really talking to English media, and which is understandable, that's fine. But for him to have that language disconnect and yet be so smooth on screen, I was really blown away by his comedic timing. Because when you're a straight man, timing is everything. When you're the wild clown, there's a lot more leeway. But when you're the straight man, your reactions to the wilder guy have to be absolutely dead on with incredible precision. And he did it. And I thought he was just so smooth. And I really enjoyed him. Now, one of the things that you mentioned, Roth, was the story. You kind of checked out during the story.
Well, yeah.
I think it's because there really wasn't much of a story.
No, there wasn't.
Well, the thing is is that the story was really old-fashioned, and again, these are really funny guys, and so the dialogue was funny, and there were great performances, and I think it was really fun and enjoyable. I want to just say that. I like the movie, but I thought one thing that they could have done was like, oh, yes, there's this media mogul who has this insane hearse-like castle, except this is his number one priority, the city paper. Maybe in 1908, but here in 2011, that's not the number one priority. I thought that was a little like, okay.
To me, one of the biggest failures of the film was Cameron Diaz. And I don't mean that in the sense that it's not that I thought that Cameron Diaz did a bad job. It was that she was pointless. It was an irrelevant character that didn't need to be there in the first place. And to take an irrelevant character and then put an A-lister like Cameron Diaz in it just made it feel even more awkward to me, because you could literally pluck that character out, take it completely out of the movie, and the movie doesn't miss a beat. I felt like it was wasted screen time on her when more screen time should have been dedicated to Chudnovsky. To Christoph Waltz, who becomes Bloodnovsky. Be it your blood or my mask, red is the last color you'll ever see. I mean, he was such a great, charming, a villain facing a midlife crisis. And like the Cameron Diaz character got as much screen time as he did, and she was not needed.
See, I would agree that he needed more screen time. I would absolutely agree that. I think that that was an epic character, and he would have played it. But I don't agree that her character was irrelevant, because again, you have two clueless people, like in his early 30s or whatever they are, that they're deciding to be superheroes that have no idea. Like, they literally don't know what their next move is. What are they going to read a blog? Like Wikipedia next move for a superhero?
What they did. Like,
they need somebody to tell them.
She didn't really.
She didn't have a lot to work with.
She really didn't fill that role.
I agree. She didn't have a lot to work with, but I agree the role was necessary for.
It was necessary for them to fight. They had tension. Jay Chow, Kato, and the Green Hornet had tension because of that. Yeah, I agree with you. It didn't have to be Cameron Diaz. It could have been just any kind of
although that Twilight scene was pretty funny, you guys.
Which scene?
I agree with you.
Why do you want to approach this in your Twilight?
That was funny. Yeah. And Cameron Diaz was a good sport for doing it that way.
She was a great sport.
But I enjoyed the film. I ended up giving it like a 7 out of 10. I did think it hit the right notes. I think it was funny. It's not 40-Year-Old Virgin, Anchorman, or Forgetting Sarah Marshall funny, but I thought it was funny. Some of the action was pretty slick. Jay Chow was really good. I loved the Black Beauty. I thought the way they handled the car was really, really good, to be honest. I really enjoyed Chudnovsky, although he was tragically underused.
Bludnovsky.
But it did lack a lot of story. I mean, it seemed like it seemed like they started with, whereas most movies start with a great story and then they put all their elements into it. It seemed like they said, hey, let's do Green Hornet. And hey, let's have the sidekick, Kato, and him not really get along. And they came up with all these plot points. And then just kind of threw some kind of story around it. And I said this in my actual review, but every superhero movie, comic book movie, whatever, has that moment of zen, that moment of self-discovery where the hero realizes what it is they are meant to do or what it is they truly love. Seth Rogen's moment of zen in this movie was stupid. when he's sitting at the bar talking to the DA, and all of a sudden he plays that entire thing out of his head. I'm sitting there thinking, please, this is sucking so much life out of this.
That's just exposition to,
But honestly, I did think that the response by the DA was kind of funny. I can see by that blank look on your face for the past 5 minutes that you're trying to work this all out.
I think that they're trying to step Godfrey off of the ledge. You know what I mean? At that point, they're like, no, we'll leave it in. We'll leave in the 3-minute clip where you go crazy and be kind, rewind this thing.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that was the most glaring for me was this. 2 things. One, I didn't think it was updated enough. I really did think that it was like very old fashioned, as if it was taking from the radio scripts in terms of like it's this newspaper. And then 2, the fan reactions have been really interesting to me. The most interesting part of this movie, because people are like, don't abuse the Green Hornet, my favorite comic book. And Evan Goldberg and I talked about this, where it's like, it was a radio show. I mean, yeah, there were comics, but it was known as a radio show. That was
a really negative reaction to the character, though, because I felt like
there was a huge reaction to Seth Rogen doing
like,
it.
People are in people that have a connection to that character are in nursing homes right now.
But people pretend that they have a reaction that they don't.
And the TV show was campy as well. I mean, they did crossovers with the old campy Batman.
Yeah, they did do crossovers with Batman.
Yeah.
Which was rather interesting. Listen, we need to. We've been on this for like 15 minutes, so we need to move on. But it's fair to say, all of us here generally liked the Green Hornet, yes, and we'd all recommend.
I enjoyed it.
Let's move on to the next thing. Another movie opened this weekend to a lot less fanfare. The new film by Ron Howard, oddly enough, The Dilemma, starring Kevin James and tall guy from Wedding Crashers.
Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn.
God,
tall guy.
Swingers.
And this movie, much like the Green Hornet, looked pretty horrible. Now, did anybody at this table, aside from me, see it?
No.
Nope.
Okay. So then this will be short. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. It's actually pretty clever. There are some good laughs. I thought Winona Ryder was a lot better in it than I thought she would be. She is aging very well. Because no, I